Funding for NYC-ARTS is made possible by Rosalind P. Walter, Jody and John Arnhold, Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown, Joyce B. Cowan, Tuesday Evening Hour, Inc., in memory of Marjorie Grimm, the Milton and Sally Avery Arts Foundation, and Elroy and Terry Krumholtz Foundation. This program is supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, in partnership with the City Council. Additional funding provided by members of 13. NYC Arts is made possible in part by First Republic Bank.
Flexibility, coordination, excellence. First Republic Private Wealth Management. It's a privilege to serve you.
And by Swan Auction Galleries.
Swan Auction Galleries. We have a different way of looking at auctions, offering vintage books and fine art since 1941, working to combine knowledge with accessibility. Whether you're a lifelong collector, a first-time buyer, or looking to sell, information at swangalleries.com.
Good evening and welcome to NYC Arts. I'm Philippe de Montebello, on location at the Frick Collection on 70th Street near Fifth Avenue. In the 80 years since the Frick opened to the public, it has fulfilled the intention of financier Henry Clay Frick to present to New York City his extraordinary art collection and magnificent mansion. The museum's opening was accompanied by national headlines. The inaugural celebration was attended by luminaries of the social and political worlds, and decades later, the museum remains one of the city's cultural treasures. Its collection includes masterpieces by so many great artists that citing but a few does the collection a disservice. But what choice do I have? So, included here are works by Bellini, Fragonard, Goya, Houdon, Holbein, Ingres, Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Whistler, and on and on. When Frick set out to furnish his new residence, his intention was to replicate the grand houses of the greatest European collectors, who surrounded their old master paintings with exquisite furniture and decorative objects. Frick quickly assembled an impressive collection of decorative arts, including bronzes, vases, potpourri, jugs and basins made at Sèvres, the preeminent 18th century French porcelain manufacturer. Many of these objects are featured in the ongoing exhibition From Sèvres to Fifth Avenue, French Porcelain at the Frick Collection. The exhibition is on view through next April. Visitors to the Frick can also see a selection of the Frick's renowned enamels collection. Ian Wardropper, the director of the Frick Collection, has written the first book dedicated fully to the important collection of Limoges enamels held here. Limoges enamels, named after the town in central France in which they were produced, are one of the most distinctive art forms of the French Renaissance. A wide range of enamels can be found here, secular objects such as portraits, caskets, and tableware, to objects of religious association such as devotional triptychs. The majority of the Frick's enamels were assembled by the American financier and art collector John Pierpont Morgan and selected for Frick by the art dealer Joseph Devine. Along with museums in London and Paris, the Frick Collection stands today as one of the major museums housing important Limoges enamels. In tandem with the Frick Collection's 80th anniversary this year, its concert series celebrates its 77th season with performances from the fall through the spring. The concert series is one of the most celebrated in New York, and over the years has delighted tens of thousands of visitors with a wide range of world-class performances by soloists, chamber music groups, and early music ensembles. For complete program information, you can visit the Frick's website. Now, let's enter the realm of glorious sound. The Orpheus Chamber Orchestra is a world-famous ensemble which has embraced a unique method of collective musicianship. Founded in 1972 by cellist Julian Pfeiffer and a group of like-minded musicians, the group came together seeking freedom from the traditional maestro's baton. Instead, they worked closely in the rehearsal process, discovering a group consciousness for the tempo, phrasing, and interpretation of a score. The Orpheus process has in fact become a trademark system of collaboration. Based on rotating leadership and active team building, it has also been used as a training tool outside of the world of music in business and academic settings. Tonight, we offer a rare glimpse of the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra at work in residence uptown at Riverside Church. You can enjoy the orchestra in performance at Carnegie Hall on December 5th and then again in January.
Music is a vehicle that allows you to get in touch with yourself and also with what I would call a greater beauty in your life. And so when we rehearse, that's really what we go for. We want to play everything like it's the last time we're playing it. There's an intensity to it that's very different from a group that sits on stage every weekend and just sort of shows up and clocks in and does what they're supposed to do. For all intents and purposes, Orpheus is an orchestra, but it functions like a much smaller chamber music group.
At the beginning, I hear the rests really well, and I think that's good. But when we play it on the piano, can we...
There's a core within the orchestra that starts the rehearsal process. It's usually the principal string players.
And maybe the winds... Are you guys able to come away a little bit from the notes in the section from...
It's very, very different from a traditional orchestra where the conductor is really the final end-all say of what happens on stage. So you get a group dynamic that develops over a rehearsal process that's very different from a traditional orchestra.
Awkward.
167. I feel like we start, and it gets a little bit.
152. The people have a half note on the downbeat. It's drowning out what comes at the end of the bar with subito piano.
Maybe I'll just lock in with you and give a downbeat. There are some of us who come from bigger orchestras with conductors where our individual opinion is not sought. And the thing that's unique about Orpheus is that it's for many of us, a rare place where we can come and be fully invested and a part of the process.
All this it's done bum ba da bum bum bum. It is almost a kind of a little bit of vertical. I'm not saying slow down, but there's a little bit. We're not really doing away with the conductor. We're essentially sharing the roles of the conductor. We're saying that, okay, here are all these issues that have to be taken care of, whether it's ensemble, whether it's execution, whether it's intonation, interpretation.
He doesn't want to rush the... So let's not rush the sword then.
Yeah, more stable.
It's a very open process. Musicians have a say.
I think we can be a little fiercer about that.
Do we have time to start anything else?
Start another movement. We have a few minutes. Third movement, yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
There's a lot of working out at any given passage who is leading, who is starting the passage, who is setting the tempo. And in the strings, it tends to be a big head nod or a nod of the instrument or the way you lift your bow before you attack.
In terms of keeping it together and cues and everything, I'm looking at the concertmaster a lot, just for main cues. And personally, I don't look at a lot of people. I just play. I listen a lot, and that's what you have to do in Orpheus, you have to listen.
The bar.
The strings, that they're a different animal. than we
Play
are.
the second and fourth eighths generally lighter, and
Pick up into 79, it should be different.
That's why they play a stringed instrument. That's why we play a wind instrument. We're just different. But as wind players, sure, we like to rehearse, not as much as the strings do, I think. You know?
getting there. Let's practice that one more time.
Sorry to stop. Is there some way to just keep those, you know, so that it doesn't dip?
We often, if possible always, send out a member to listen out in the virtual audience space, and that's because it's shocking how different the perspective is when you're not in the middle of playing, when you're not in the middle of the group where you have sound all around you, but when you're out in the hall with the group sound coming at you.
Yeah, I feel like there shouldn't be too much happening yet. I think we agree. I like that the sound is nowhere yet. It's like far, far away.
Far away.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd played the Tchaikovsky recently in another setting, so I felt very sort of comfortable with my own part. So in rehearsing the Tchaikovsky Serenade, I felt like it was a good piece for me to be out in the hall listening. And then it's just a question of trying to listen with fresh ears as if you're a member of the audience to what works, what doesn't work.
It lurched a little much.
It also, yeah, it goes yum, bum, bum.
Yeah. I'd like it to be one sound.
Yeah, patience.
I got into this business because I want to hear music. So every time I have the chance to go into the rehearsal, I take it. I think what I'm listening for is what all the musicians are listening for, which is first of all balance, second of all phrasing and interpretation. With the Tchaikovsky Serenade, it's something that's often played. It's very easy to listen to. It's very enjoyable music. But Orpheus plays it differently every time they play it.
Tchaikovsky especially is maybe the greatest ballet composer ever. It's a romantic work. There's a lot of area for what we call rubato, for tempo changes and character changes. And there's a very stark change at the end of the piece, where the last movement, which is just this animato, very fast, a lot of fast notes, comes into this almost like a brick wall, where he brings back the opening of the piece, the introduction, the andante. And so there's so much energy built up that I think you can either transition into that section, or you can make it a very extreme contrast. Do we want to give away the meno mosso so much?
I felt like everybody wanted to sort of slow up there, but I'd be happy not to.
That's a good point.
It's to be so dramatic.
Just keep it going. Just
keep it going, and then you kind of hit this incredible wall.
Good.
So Orpheus in and of itself is the artist. It's about music at the end of the day. It's not about star power. This is a different business. And so Orpheus does that with every concert.
We're always trying to push the envelope a little bit, challenge ourselves somewhat. And that's, to me, that's really what ultimately makes the orchestra go.
We really want to bring out something important, something worthy for you to focus on every time we play this music. Our job is not primarily to entertain you. Our job is primarily to make you listen and make you think.
Okay.
NYC-ARTS isn't only available on Thursdays, it's also on the web. Please visit our website at nyc-arts.org, where you can watch clips and learn more about institutions and events featured on this show.
What we decided to do with the Getty, who was our partner in this exhibition, was to look at the artist and at his workshop and at how drawings were the vital part of the workshop and how drawings helped create the ultimate works.
Now, for more information on the latest in arts and culture in our area, here is Christina Ha with the NYC Arts News.
Hi, I'm Christina Ha with the NYC Arts News. We're on the roof of the new St. Anne's Warehouse in Brooklyn. This 35-year-old performing arts institution has converted this former tobacco warehouse into a state-of-the-art theater. Behind me is the Brooklyn Bridge. When it was built in the 19th century, this area was a busy manufacturing district of warehouses and factories. Today, you'll find here a beautiful waterfront park and a neighborhood of tech firms and galleries. And St. Anne's Warehouse is perfectly situated to become the area's cultural center. While it has not always had a permanent space, St. Anne's Warehouse has always created a home for international companies. St. Anne's has also championed innovative American theater ensembles like Mabou Mines and the Worcester Group. The inaugural theater season of this new venue kicks off with the return of London's Donmar Warehouse, presenting the second play in its trilogy of all-female Shakespeare productions, Henry IV. Next year, other St. Anne's regulars return with American premieres. Enda Walsh's The Last Hotel is part of Prototype, the innovative festival of new opera. Labapalooza, a festival of works in process from the Puppet Lab. Nice Fish, a new play starring Mark Rylance, who wrote the play with the poet Louis Jenkins. The Young Vic's modern-day production of A Streetcar Named Desire with Gillian Anderson, Ben Foster, and Vanessa Kirby. And in the spring, St. Anne's welcomes the Welsh circus company No Fit State, which will set up its tent outside the theater under the Brooklyn Bridge. The Sejong soloists come to Lincoln Center's Alice Tully Hall for their annual benefit gala concert, and they're joined by one of NYC-ARTS' favorite musicians. This New York-based ensemble of international players welcomes soloists Clara Jumi Kang and Richard Youngjae O'Neill for a performance of the rarely heard double concerto by Max Bruch. This conductorless string orchestra, which often features emerging artists, will also be joined by William Wei and Yun-Chin Zhou for selections from Mendelssohn's Double Concerto for violin, piano, and strings. NYC-ARTS' own Paula Zahn hosts the event and will join alumni of the ensemble for the premiere of a new work for 8 cellos by Karen Lefrak. The Sejong soloists perform at Alice Tully Hall on November 21st. The Whitney Museum of American Art presents its first career retrospective dedicated to a single artist in its new home. The choice of Archibald Motley for this honor is perhaps a surprising one, in that the Whitney owns none of this African-American artist's works. With the recognition of this bold and original painter, the Whitney expands its own definition of modernism. Archibald Motley, Jazz Age Modernist, includes 42 paintings spanning 1919 to 1963. It's a rare opportunity to see such a large selection of his relatively small surviving body of work. Although the artist worked in Chicago most of his life, he was also inspired by Jazz Age Paris and visits to Mexico. The exhibition includes the artist's portraits of African Americans and people of mixed race, and depictions of Bronzeville, the African American neighborhood on Chicago's South Side Motley knew so well. The Tony-winning 2006 rock musical Spring Awakening returns to the Great White Way via the Los Angeles-based Deaf West Theater. No changes were made to the original book and lyrics by Stephen Sater or the music by Duncan Sheik. But the production breaks new ground with a performance in both spoken English and American Sign Language. The production includes 8 deaf actors, 8 hearing actors, and 7 onstage musicians. The deaf actors are placed front and center in this production, adding another layer to this darkly tragic drama about the perils of adolescent sexuality in a repressive community.
You say all you want is just a kiss goodnight. Mama!
The cast includes Academy Award winner Marlee Matlin and the Emmy Award-winning actress Cameron Manheim. In addition, Ali Stroker makes history as the first actor in a wheelchair on Broadway.
Who made me so sad?
Head to the Asia Society Museum to view a spectacular and mysterious cache of golden objects from the Philippines. Philippine Gold, Treasures of Forgotten Kingdoms, showcases objects ranging from the 10th through the 13th centuries, many of which were not discovered until the late 20th century. The exhibition includes some 120 works, exquisite jewelry, earrings, bangles, belt buckles, and other ornaments, as well as functional and ritualistic objects, ranging from goblets to death masks. The objects highlight the prosperity and achievements of little-known Philippine kingdoms that flourished long before the Spanish discovered the region and colonized it in the 16th century. The 50th anniversary for any cultural icon could be the occasion to trot out some crowd-pleasing greatest hits, or mark the moment with some somber reflection. But choreographer Twyla Tharp is not one to rest on her laurels, or take it all too seriously. Tharp celebrates her company's anniversary with a 10-week cross-country celebration showcasing 2 brand new dances. Preludes and Fugues, set to excerpts from Bach's The Well-Tempered Clavier, doesn't get caught up in classical conventions. And Tharp plays up her sense of humor with Yowzy, a work set to a wild, raucous, and jazzy score. Don't miss the last stop on this joyous 50th anniversary tour at Lincoln Center's David H. Koch Theater, November 17th through the 22nd. And that's the NYC-ARTS News. For more information on cultural events in our area, sign up for a free weekly email at nyc-arts.org/email. Top 5 picks will keep you up to date all year round. From the new St. Anne's Warehouse in Brooklyn, I'm Christina Ha.
Hello, I'm Rafael Piroman. Welcome to Lincoln Center. You know, all year round, New Yorkers and guests from around the world visit this cultural mecca for its theaters overflowing with the best in music, dance, opera, drama, and film. This week at Lincoln Center, Alban Berg's Lulu at the Metropolitan Opera. Acclaimed visual artist William Kentridge has returned to the Met to direct a new production of Lulu, Alban Berg's tragedy of a sexually irresistible woman who destroys the lives of everyone around her. Kentridge, a South African-born artist, is known for combining drawing, animation, filmmaking, and collage, and his work has been the subject of major gallery shows and museum retrospectives around the world. Marlise Pedersen, who has sung the role of Lulu to great acclaim during 9 previous productions, stars as the femme fatale. This production will go on through December 3rd, and the November 21st matinee will be transmitted worldwide as part of the 10th season of the Met's Live and HD series, which now reaches more than 2,000 movie theaters in 70 countries around the world. For complete details, please visit metopera.org. And for even more information about events at Lincoln Center, you can visit their website at lincolncenter.org.
We hope you've enjoyed our program this evening. From the Frick Collection at 5th Avenue and 70th Street, I'm Philippe de Montebello. Good night and see you next time.
Next week on NYC-ARTS, Philippe de Montebello in conversation with Colin Bailey, the newly appointed director of the Morgan Library and Museum.
It's wonderful to see, in addition obviously to the permanent collections, these exhibitions that bring certain works of art into focus, add to what is there already, and you've got quite a mix on at the moment.
At the moment, our season is a very vibrant one. First, a group of drawings, prints and sculptures by Martin Purrier. And then we have a show that celebrates the gift of around 50 books, related materials by Matisse and the graphic arts.
Then Rajendra Roy, Chief Curator of Film at the Museum of Modern Art, talks about the 80th anniversary of MoMA's film department.
The great thing about MoMA's film collection is that it has a point of view. It has a personality, you could say. And that personality is based on the curators that have influenced it.
From one scientific body was obtained a check for $120,000 to try and halt the destruction of man's neglected treasure of film. And aided by the Rockefeller Foundation, New York's Museum of Modern Art Film Library began to gather moving pictures and keep them as carefully as other libraries collect rare manuscripts.
Funding for NYC-ARTS is made possible by Rosalind P. Walter, Jody and John Arnhold, Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown, Joyce B. Cowan, Tuesday Evening Hour, Inc., in memory of Marjorie Grimm, the Milton and Sally Avery Arts Foundation, and Elroy and Terry Krumholtz Foundation. This program is supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, in partnership with the City Council. Additional funding provided by members of 13. NYC-ARTS is made possible in part by First Republic Bank.
Flexibility, coordination, excellence. First Republic Private Wealth Management. It's a privilege to serve you.
And by Swan Auction Galleries.
Swan Auction Galleries. We have a different way of looking at auctions, offering vintage books and fine art since 1941, working to combine knowledge with accessibility. Whether you're a lifelong collector, a first-time buyer, or looking to sell, information at swangalleries.com.